So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our monthly downtown RAP meeting. We really appreciate you being here so we can discuss impacts of homelessness in the downtown region of Santa Barbara, including the waterfront. I'm Landon, work with SB Act, joined by my colleague Kai, as well as our partners from the city. Barbara Anderson is here, as well as city staff. And you can see it's a low turnout today, so we'll see how the conversation goes. But it's just end of the year, and we've been talking about how to keep boosting attendance at these meetings. So a couple general announcements before we get started. We do really want part of that boosting attendance is we want to get feedback from everybody about how are we doing as a collaborative on a whole, and how is this structure working for everyone. So I'm going to put this link in the chat window, but if you all have time, if you haven't, many of you already have, but if you haven't, if you can take 5 minutes to fill out this survey, um, that would be much appreciated because again, it just helps us figure out how to make this thing as helpful for you all as it can be. I wanted to note we had a really cool call on Monday for our community-wide all-call meeting and heard a really, I think, informative presentation for me at least about the new Care Court program that our County Department of Behavioral Wellness is has started just this month. So this is a new resource specifically for those with a schizophrenia diagnosis, but it can provide some new pathways to actually help those people get care through our court system, but in a voluntary way. So I'd really encourage you to go check that out. There were also some presentations just about what our county is doing to address encampments in our waterways and vehicular encampments, as well as just kind of an overview of this whole South County collaborative that SB Act and the city and Goleta and others are participating in. So really encourage you to check that out. You can go to our YouTube page, which I'll put the link to that in the chat window to watch the recording. Give me 1 second to put that in the window. There we go. And then just a couple of dates to put on your calendars. We'll talk about the longest night memorial in just a second, but that's next Saturday at 5:15 p.m. Our next downtown rap meeting will be in 2025 on Monday the 9th. Or excuse me, that shouldn't say Monday, Thursday the 9th at 3 p.m. And then the annual point in time count, which we'll talk about, will be the 22nd of January at 5:30 a.m. So let's start with the longest night. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is our annual memorial for those who passed away unsheltered in the last year. So this is something that's led by people with lived experience of homelessness, and it starts with a little interfaith service followed by a reading of the names of those individuals who passed away. It's a really moving memorial on the literally the longest night of the year on the winter solstice. So I encourage you to come check it out. It's interesting. I think for me, in some ways, it does sort of get you in the holiday spirit because it's just a reminder of kind of what we're all in this together to address. So I encourage you to check it out as you're able. And then the point in time count, just a reminder, we've talked about this on these calls before, but this is our annual, basically, count of everyone who's experiencing homelessness in Santa Barbara County. This is something that's required by the federal government of every county across the US. And so these numbers are used to help us figure out A, where should we be directing our resources? But then B, it also helps determine the level of funding and resources we're able to get from the federal and state governments. So it's really important for us to get good data, which means we need hundreds of volunteers across Santa Barbara County. So if you're able to sign up, we would love that. If you're able to share this info with others, even better. Just help us spread the word so we can get as many volunteers as possible. Um, I don't know. Several of you have volunteered before. Barbara, do you want to say anything about your experience doing the point in time count?
I will say it's for me personally, it's meeting folks that I wouldn't normally engage with. I mean, I will say that period of time, Landon, as you know, very early in the morning are a lot of faces that we don't see during the day because they're in different locations, kind of find the spots that they're comfortable with. But a number of folks that I engaged with just this last year are students at City College. They have a job during the day. They just simply cannot afford a place to live here because it's too expensive. Or they have family here, but again, can't afford a place on their own and or in between couch surfing and things like that. So the early morning hours, I think, are always just really, really eye-opening for me. Because it's the diversity of folks, diversity of age, the diversity of background and experiences. And it really is heart-wrenching to see that many people are trying to live a life where they work and go to school, but just cannot because of affordability that they're sleeping certain places at night.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, and I would say too, just as somebody who's done it several years now, I tend to enjoy the experience in the sense that you do get to connect with a lot of other like-minded people who just care
Mhm.
about our community.
Yeah,
Um, and
absolutely.
it is an early morning, but I think it's well worth our while. So if you're available, we'd love for you to come on and join us. Hey, Rich, thanks for being here. Um, One other just general announcement reminder that the warming centers are activated. They only open when we meet these threshold requirements. So if it's below 35 degrees or more than 50% chance of rain overnight, but they happen at different like faith communities throughout the area. And so there is a new hotline this year. If you're not sure if the warming center is open on any given night, you can call the hotline and there's a pre-recorded message that will tell you if there is a special rain shelter for people to go to. But it's just good information to have in your back pocket in case you see somebody who's on the streets and might benefit from it that night. You can also sign up for to be on the email list by emailing them at this fwc@goodsamaritanshelter.org. And that's it for general announcements. Any questions about any of this? All right. So Eric, our fearless leader at the Faro Center, is out sick today. So I'm just going to share a couple of updates from the center. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Just a few general things. We are just about at the 6 month mark. I think on Christmas Day, I need to check my notes, will be the actual 6 months that the
The
Faro Center has been
25th, yeah,
open. Yeah.
absolutely.
So thanks to you all for your support and just helping us, make this thing happen as we've gotten it going. We've seen a lot of people so far. This is just the data through October. So we've seen more since then, but 549 like unique individuals is what I should say have come through the center since then. On average, we were serving about 41. That's slowly ticking upwards. Like this week, the average was around 55 each day. And so it's really the word has gotten out, and hopefully more and more people are getting services as a result. Um, Through October, we had seen 17 people exiting from unsheltered homelessness, whether it was to one of our interim shelters, interim housing, or shelter situations, or whether it was to permanent housing. So again, it's just nice having this one-stop shop place for people to go to so that we can help try and get people off the streets a little more easily. And then just a couple of general things to share too. Since maybe the last time we talked, a few new services have been added, including some more employment and workforce development support through managed career solutions, as well as a little bit of legal support with the People's Justice Project, assisting with criminal records expungement where possible. And that's all just on top of all the things we've already had with all of our amazing homeless outreach providers here on site, as well as the public library providing employment and documentation support, and mental health services and healthcare services and a whole host of other things. Um, I think the last thing too is just going to share is that we're continuing to try and be as proactive in the neighborhood as possible. We've been able to, receive calls from neighbors about issues that pop up in the neighborhood and quickly send our staff out to respond to them. In some cases, it's, clients from the Faro Center. In other cases, it's just a situation that because we're in the block, we're able to go and help out. But I do want to keep encouraging you. If you hear anything from any of our neighbors, please put them in touch with us because we do want to know if there's any concerns or questions that come up so that we can respond to that. And I do see a request. We do have these Faro Center cards that have all the info that are really easy to hand out to individuals. So I'm happy to get those to any of you all. And I just put in a new order so I can maybe get those to you next week once we receive them, Commander Payne. Any questions or anything about the Faro Center that anyone wants to discuss? Appreciate it. We have our neighbors at Jody House here with us today, and thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we'll keep, this is an ongoing conversation. So if anyone has anything they want to bring up later in the meeting as well, feel free. So why don't we take just a few minutes to open it up for any concerns or questions from our community members on the call. Looks like it's just Rich and Gabby today, but just asking if you have anything you wanted to, or any issues or concerns you wanted to bring up.
And Rich, did they demote you in your office already?
The so my former office that you'd be used to seeing was never basically touched. I inherited the office as it was from my predecessor.
Wow,
So
yeah.
I never made any improvements in 26 years. So we decided that actually the carpeting probably Faro would have thrown up if they'd seen the condition of things like the carpeting. So anyway, I exited so we could paint, refloor, and bring in new furniture. So I'm relegated. This is our conservation office.
Oh, cool.
It's the first time I've shared an office in probably about 30 years.
Yeah.
It's a new experience.
And congratulations, the new executive director the background is just, we seem very lucky to.
Charles is great, and Elaine Ma Best, who's our VP for Community Relations, is receiving the announcements about this. She's trying to rebalance her schedule. Right now she has a kind of a standing conflict, but I know Charles will want to be active and Elaine will be active once she can kind of rebalance her assignments.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll stay involved, and they are planning. It's in the budget to host another day at the zoo for all.
Oh, that's amazing. That was really a wonderful moment of appreciation for people that work really hard day to day.
Oh, it was fun for us to do. We are limited in some ways as to what we can do, but that's certainly an area where we can help. And I encourage service providers, if they think that there's a way that the zoo can help, to reach out to Elaine. I'll put Elaine's email address in the chat here, so you know who to reach out to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else?
Hi. Sorry, I was finishing up a phone call earlier, but thank you guys for hosting these. And it's so cool to see all the metrics of the Faro Center. Being next door, we can see like sense kind of like, oh, I feel like there's more people now. And it's so exciting. And so many of our members benefit too from the services. And it's so nice to be able to like walk somebody over and bring them right to you guys. I do feel like in the last, I would say like month and a half, we've had maybe a little bit of an uptick in some challenges with people coming to our property. And my biggest concern is just when that's happening, when members are present and when the people who are coming over might be upset or angry and maybe are leaving Faro Center. And because we're right next door, they end up kind of on our property. And I don't know, with our members just all having some level of cognitive disability, I just worry about safety. So the couple other things we've noticed are some cigarette smoke that is just kind of lingers. Some people leaving their property on our premises, and then sometimes just altercations and yelling. And you guys are so responsive. Like every time we've reached out, we are reaching out to Eric, and he's on it right away, and that's so appreciated. But I guess I'm wondering if there's any way to I don't know, maybe have like a consistent, and I guess I don't know what you guys are doing, but if there is like a consistent presence outside that could maybe prevent these things from happening in the first place, or obviously anything else that you guys can think of. But those are just the few challenges that maybe just with the kind of uptick in foot traffic that we've noticed, especially in the last like month or so.
No, that's super helpful. Thank you. And I'm sorry for the concerns with that.
No, it's okay.
Um, a couple things. One, well, the one time we've had people stationed outside has been
Mhm,
whenever we have meals on Tuesdays and Thursdays because we know we have a
mhm,
slightly higher traffic then. So it's like I want to say between 11 to 1 on Tuesdays and Thursdays we'll have a staff member.
mhm,
Otherwise, we'll have staff going out. I think it's once every hour, once every 2 hours to do a block
mhm.
walk, but they're not stationed out there right now. So we could
Right.
talk
Okay.
about that and if there's another way to be more like consistently out there monitoring, because people are
Yeah.
not supposed to be smoking at all on
Yeah,
the
no,
property
Right.
or nearby.
yeah.
And then yeah, like leaving property on your property and the other concerns you raised too. We really don't want that happening. So are there certain times of day when any of these are like tend to happen more often, or is it just
That's a good
yeah,
question. There's not really a pattern that I've noticed.
yeah,
There are sometimes like when before our program starts and people maybe come onto our property, it's definitely less not ideal, but less concerning to us because our members aren't present yet.
yeah, sure.
So it's in the afternoons is when our members are on the premises. That's from about like 12 to 4:30-ish.
Hmm.
But no, otherwise I can't really identify a pattern, I don't think, of when those things
Sure.
are happening.
Okay.
And Landon, the Jody has shared those hours with us, so maybe if, staff are available to go out, to the front sidewalk a little bit more often during those afternoon
Yeah,
hours, especially as members are coming in and leaving the Jody House property, because again, as Gabby's saying, because of the conditions that they're dealing with, it's, there any level of loud noise or, other sensitivities that they might have to be conscious of that. Because I noticed too that the visibility from the front, like it really is just the front part of the sidewalk. You can't really see to the left where Jody
right,
House is
right.
unless you are walking up and at the sidewalk rather than right at the door or the gate in front of the property. So, maybe we can work on just, having laps up and down more
Yeah.
often versus around the block, which is
Mhm.
happening, every 1 or 2 hours. Because I think the
I,
same thing happens with vintage Fox antique. So it's just like someone just walking up to the sidewalk, you're able to see to the left or the right much
yeah,
more
for
than
sure.
you are at the gate. Yeah.
Hmm. What was I going to ask? Oh, the when you do have the program hours, are people coming in and out through during that whole time, or is it mainly like the flood of people comes right at the beginning and then leaves right at the end?
Yeah, it tends to be the bulk coming in right at the beginning, but it's a drop-in program, so people come
Sure.
really all at different points and leave at different points. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint, I guess.
Okay. So I'll have so like I said, Eric's out sick today, but let me talk to him. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. And then we can email you back with like or at least communicate with you about maybe what some next steps could be. Um, yeah, I really appreciate you bringing this up.
I will
Yeah,
say,
no, thank you guys.
Landon too, from the smoking to back up Gabby's point, because they know they can't smoke on the property, they're like hiding. Sometimes in front. So that's just another thing of like, maybe it's just like literally walking up and down the
Oh
park.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's enough for most
yeah,
people that they stop right then, but we just have to be
right.
out there. We have cameras on the exterior of the property. It's just a matter of like monitoring that. We don't have somebody that's glued to the monitor the whole time. We're able to go back and look at the recordings after the fact. But so thank you, Gabby. Really appreciate that. And like I said, we'll follow up with you in the next couple of days.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
Anything else? All right, so let's do just some quick check-ins with our homeless outreach teams. And if you can note also outreach teams, if you can note your closure dates for the holidays, that would be great. So let's have our City Knit team with Alondra.
Hi. As for our closing dates, we technically work all throughout the holidays. I do know that a couple people are going to be out, um, like on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but we are supposed to work, but just some people ask for days off, so some people won't be in. Um, and Sorry. In regards to the check-in, it was just like in general or anything in specific?
For the just hearing kind of about your activity in the downtown area of Santa Barbara in the recent last couple of weeks.
Okay. Um, so mostly, I mean, in this specific area, um, I know that John and Olivia are the ones that primarily handle this area. We have been focusing on waterfront, Ledbetter Beach, areas mostly, just because we've seen a spike in activity there. Um, but it seems, at least from what I can tell you today, I've kind of roamed around just because I knew that it was like sprinkling and I wanted to see how many people were out there. Um, it seems like people have been kind of going more indoors or hiding a little bit more so. Um, I haven't seen as many people. I don't know if like that's reflected in how many people are coming to the Faro Center as well. Just because I feel like out in the streets, I haven't been seeing as many people. It's been kind of slow for us. Um, so yeah, that's kind of all I have.
Thanks, Alondra. Yeah, interestingly, it's been a little bit slower just in the last couple of days at the Faro Center as the weather's gotten a little colder, which is sort of the opposite of what we were expecting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the holiday weeks. Can we go to Commander Payne?
I was actually going to ask Alondra if they could start increasing a little bit of time on Chapala Street and the 1000 block of Chapala Street. I'm not sure that all of the individuals are ready at this point in time to start accepting services based upon their behavior, but if we can at least start the rapport building process, there's been some increase in disturbances over there. One of the things is when the weather starts to change like it does at this time of year, we have to kind of redirect some of our focus to the businesses that have kind of the alcove entrances. You know, they have that covered space. That's where a lot of individuals will tend to go and the underpasses for an area of shelter. And so that's an opportunity for us to, reach out to those individuals and get them familiar with the services that are available. As most of that falls within the downtown corridor. Thanks so much. And of course, all of the underpasses, so State Street, Garden, etc., is where we're going to see more of those individuals that need that housing under the foul weather conditions, and to try and educate them about the warming centers and services that we have available for them. But that's mainly what I have at the moment. Anybody have any specific PD related questions that they want to ask? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then let's go to Andrew with code enforcement. And if you can let us know about holiday dates for you all, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. Our office is part of the city holiday closure, but we are going to still kind of work to have some code enforcement staff available. We haven't quite ironed out the exact schedule yet, but again, SB Connect and most of our regular channels, one way or another, will be able to kind of route any sort of important needs or anything like that, so someone can potentially respond. As far as for things for us in the downtown and waterfront area, much like Commander Payne, we're dealing with things kind of on a case-by-case basis. We've seen some encampments pop up in little alcoves on Figueroa Street and some other little various spots around town. Most of the time, they do seem pretty temporary. We usually see a lot of things gone by the time we arrive. It's just someone trying to set up for the night, and then they're pretty quick to break down just due to the fact that they're very visible and they draw a lot of attention. I will reinforce that 1,000 block of Chapala. I was in that area yesterday, doing some cleanup. But even just driving in this morning, taking a look over that area in front of Ralph's is becoming a bit of a hub as of late. I'm not sure exactly for what reason, but just a lot of loitering, a lot of activity. It's definitely something we're watching just in terms of as waste accumulates or, people's property starts to basically interfere with the public right of way there. But other than that, the waterfront's been, largely pretty pleasant and quiet for us. The occasional interaction down there. But we're finding most people are pretty mobile at this time. There is some increased activity at Plaza Del Mar, Pershing Park area. That kind of was spoken about at another meeting just yesterday. And so that's kind of rising up on our priority list to address that. Another challenging one where people do pack up and we're not seeing exactly established encampments, more temporary things, but definitely something to keep an eye on as just making sure that it doesn't gather steam. So that's kind of the general update from us.
Thank you. And so during the holiday week, we should still be submitting reports to the SB Connect app, correct?
Correct. SB Connect's always the best reporting tool. It really gathers all the necessary information we need. It's great when photos can be included. It's really a great tool for us to know all the details of timing and when things are occurring and whatnot. It's a pretty great tool for us. So.
Okay, thank you.
And Landon, a number of us receive those reports, right, depending on how they're selected in the system. So, as we navigate the closure and some of us working and at different schedules, like we're able to communicate with each other and get the response that's needed, as quickly as possible, even though all of us will be on varying schedules.
Yeah.
Landon, if I can add real quick that in relation to the Pershing Park and stuff, I think I don't know if we have a current partnership or have included City College in these meetings, but when folks look for a different place, especially when there's holiday closures for the schools, especially like Santa Barbara City College for approximately a month at a time, folks will transition out of Pershing Park to a nearly desolate, Santa Barbara City College during that time. And I think we should just make sure that they know what resources we have available to offer and know that we're a resource for them in SB Act. And so we can maybe have teams go out there. Eric Fricky is their head of security out there. I'll send you an email right now with his email address, but maybe that way, if they see folks that, doesn't really necessitate a PD call, normally it's a trespassing type issue for them and they issue the warning, but again, that may be an opportunity that we're missing to reach out to those folks.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And we'll be here throughout the holiday stuff.
I figured as much.
We're not going to miss any days.
Appreciate that. All right. And then anything else from the city, Liz or Barbara?
Hey everybody, I think most of you already know that I'm going on leave for a month starting Monday. I'll be back January 13th, but as you've heard, you have plenty of coverage and plenty of people available to help you out during the holiday season, the closure, and during my absence. So I just want to extend happy holidays to everybody and express my gratitude for everybody, the work that you all do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. All right. I should have mentioned too, the Faro Center will be open through the holidays except for on the actual days themselves. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. Those are the only closures from the normal Monday to Friday hour days. So, anything else while we're all together? General announcements, questions, concerns? All right. Well, for those of you who I don't see, I hope have a really happy holiday season. The rest of you will either see you on a wrap call or maybe at the longest night next weekend. But yeah, grateful to get to share this space with you.
Thank you, Andy.
And I guess outreach providers stick around. We'll check in really briefly. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, Gabby. See you, Rich.